Hi, my name is Gina, and today we'll be doing a gentle vinyasa flow, focusing on the heart chakra. The heart chakra is where our love and compassion and just all of the beautiful things that allows us to really take in the love for ourselves. But unfortunately, things from the past, attachments, the perceptions we have of who we think we are, sometimes cause blockages. And so today, my intention is to help release those blockages so we can allow more love to come inside for self love. Heart chakra in Sanskrit means anahata, which means unstruck, unbeaten, and unhurt. So hopefully you have your mat and grab some blocks, and we'll begin our practice in an easy seat pose. So get comfortable, whatever feels comfortable for you. Allow your sits bones to be grounded into the earth. If it feels okay, you can close your eyes and maybe lay one hand on your heart and the other on your belly. And let's be aware of our breath. Focus. Let go of anything that maybe before you came here was just feeding your mind and kind of distracting you. Allow yourself to be present. This is your time, your practice. So let's take about 3 breaths without the sound of my voice so you can focus and be still. Releasing your hands to your knees, straighten your spine, and again, keep your sits bones on the mat. Let's take some side stretches and possibly put your left hand on the mat, or you can leave it on your knee, whatever feels comfortable. But with our right hand, we're going to stretch over our right side, allowing those intercostal muscles that's around our rib cage to really stretch, and breathe into those muscles, allowing your sits bones to continue to stay on the mat. While your head, you could focus in front of you and with a drishti point, which is a focus point, which we'll be using throughout our practice today. Or just close your eyes and breathe. Now let's take it to the other side, releasing our right hand to the mat, left hand overhead. And again, you can keep your hand on your knee if you feel better. But let's just release that left arm overhead, gently focusing just nothing on anything important. Just taking in the moment, breathing into that left body side, and just really giving yourself a chance to unwind. You'll notice that your thoracic spine may be leaning over a little bit. Just don't even focus on it. Just relax. And let's go back to center. Great. Now we're going to actually do some cat-cows by putting our hands back on our knees, and we're going to inhale and exhale. And again, this is just about heart and opening. So just moving your heart in different poses. We'll be doing some seated, some standing, and some possible back bends today to really shine our hearts forward. Again, keeping your hands on your knees. Let's take it for a cow, and that's bringing that chest forward with the shoulders just squeezing behind you and breathing at the same time, looking ahead, or if it feels comfortable, you can keep your chin down to your chest. Let's push back and exhale to cat, rounding out that spine, keeping those sits bones, extending those arms. And again, let's take one more round, moving forward and pushing our heart forward, breathing. Again, let's push back, rounding out that spine for cat, extending those arms, allowing our back to really broaden. And let's return to neutral. Now let's taking our right hand on our left knee, let's side body twist to the left. Your left arm can be behind your back if it feels comfortable, or you can place it behind you and look over that left shoulder, twisting that right intercostal muscle at the same time. Head just gazing softly, jaw softened, your eyes, you can close them again if you like, and twist, breathing into that right side. You'll probably feel it on your left side as well. This is just a great way for us to maybe detox some of those things that no longer serve us and just rid them from our energies that are blocking our heart from just accepting and growing the love that we deserve. Let's cross that left arm over to the right knee and let's just push back again for another cat, rounding out that back. And pull forward, releasing that right arm to the back. Again, you can keep your arm, if it's in your practice, to a bind. Otherwise, release that right arm behind you, looking over that right shoulder. Eyes just gazing at nothing in particular. But notice the breath without judging. And breathe into that side body. Let's release that right arm over knee, and again, let's take another round at the back for a cat-cow. And just really broadening that back with your head down. And let's push forward again, releasing our hands to neutral. Let's really kind of unwind a little bit, taking some circular twirls, with starting on one direction, moving your body as forward and around, and just really lubricating that spine. Do what feels right for you. If you want to move your neck, just don't force it. Do what feels right for your body. Let's reverse it the other way. And same thing, just be easy with yourself. Don't force it. This is just a little kind of movement to wake up our bodies. Great. Now let's get on all fours for tabletop with your hands on the earth. Fingers possibly spread apart. Keep blocks nearby just in case you want to have just for added lifts. Keeping the knees hip width apart, back flat, spine basically parallel. Head up towards the sky, or if it feels better, you can keep your head looking down. Let's lift up that right arm to the sky, gazing ahead at it and threading it up underneath our left arm. Option to release our shoulders down and our left cheek. You can also extend that left arm for an added stretch. If it feels a little bit too much, you can actually even keep it behind your back. Option to also kind of stay lifted off the ground. Otherwise, you can just stretch out that left arm, keeping those knees grounded to the mat, torso up, and breathe. Now let's get to lift up, and so we can go on to the other side, putting the right hand back to the mat. Let's lift that left hand up overhead and follow the gaze. And lift underneath. Let's hinge forward with our right arm and extend ahead. Again, option to keep your right arm behind your back in a bind. Sometimes one side feels different than the other, so just do what feels right for your body. With your left cheek on the mat, you can stretch that right arm forward and breathe. Keeping those knees planted, You can tuck your toes or untuck your toes, just whatever feels comfortable for you. Let's get back up with our right hand and let's place both hands to the ground. This time we're going to do cat-cow again, but we're going to do it on all fours just to kind of give our spine just some more stretches. We're going to be doing a lot of heart openers, and our back is definitely the support that we need. So we want to give it an opportunity to also get the love it needs. Let's stretch our chest forward, keeping the hands grounded. Knees should be hip width apart for cow. And breathe. Let's exhale. Rounding our back and pulling ourselves up to cat, and we'll do 2 more rounds of these just to kind of give ourselves another added. Oh, great for the spine. Go at your own pace. Just remember to breathe. Inhale and exhale. Back to neutral. Maybe move forward a little bit just to give yourself a chance to position your body so that way you can stretch and extend your legs in this next pose. Stretching out that right leg. Let's just push it back for a second just to get some nice stretch in that calf muscle before lifting it to the sky for bird dog. Option to use a block if you like. Otherwise, let's lift our opposite left arm up with our fingers straight ahead, glancing at a drishti point, allowing ourselves to gaze forward. Just gentle, gentle. Let's return to center and let's take it to the other side, stretching out that left leg for that left calf. Oh, feels good. Now lift that left leg and let's do the opposite arm, stretching ahead. Again, option to use your block. You can also stay on your knee and maybe just lift your hand out. Do what feels right for your practice and your body. Okay, you can even use some stomach muscles if you like and do an added crunch. Otherwise, let's return all our hands and knees back to the mat and breathe. Let's slowly move down to child's pose and actually widen the knees. I'm going to move back a little bit to the back of the mat and stretch forward with our forehead to the floor, hands stretched out. You should feel that thoracic spine, just allowing it to stretch, sending your chest forward to the mat. Moving up, we're going to actually get into puppy pose by extending these hands forward. Let's position our knees back together, sending our butt up to the air and move forward all the way to puppy pose. This also gives our spine a chance to stretch, allowing our chest to be sent to the earth to receive more love. If it's in your practice, you can use prayer hands and put it above your head. And breathe. Okay. Sending our hands back to the earth. Let's lift up for our first downward dog. And since this is our first downward dog of the day, go ahead and pedal your feet, maybe wiggle your hips. Option to keep your feet together. You can also come down to your knees if that feels better. Otherwise, pedal out those knees, wiggle the hips before we just start doing some more flows that are going to allow us to just have so much energy. With the crown of your head being pulled forward to the earth, Keeping your elbows straight, looking out, hands planted in the mat. Let's walk forward, maybe 3 steps to the front of our mat, to our first Tadasana. And vertebrae by vertebrae, let's slowly lift with hands by our side and take a minute to reflect. Now let's cactus our arms to squeeze those shoulders, sending the heart forward to shine, and breathe. Please be gentle on your low back. You can option to keep your chin here. And now we're going to actually take our cactus to the right, spreading it almost like we're spreading wings with our right hand down to the mat, left arm looking forward. Let's go back to cactus. Send that heart forward, slight bend in the back to our left side, stretching those wings and breathing and flying, allowing that heart center to be shining forward. And let's go back to cactus and hands up, and let's swan dive down to forward fold. Hands at the mat, option to bend your knees. You can also use a block. At forward fold, let's half lift, placing our hands on either on our thighs or on the lower legs. You can even airplane your arms out. Otherwise, keeping your hands here, let's forward fold again. Bending at the knee, sending the chest to the thighs. Let's step back to plank, keeping your feet almost a few inches apart or toes together, hands hip width apart with our fingers spread. Let's plunge forward. Let's do knees down to the mat, and then chest, and then chin up, lifting up for baby cobra. Again, bringing our heart forward, squeezing our shoulder blades together. And let's move up for downward facing dog. That's our first vinyasa flow or sun salutation. So let's go ahead and do the same thing and slowly lift forward. Again, you can keep your knees on the mat, lowering the chest to the mat, bringing that heart forward for baby cobra. And let's send it back for downward facing dog. Great. Yes, breathe. Again, pedal the feet as we're just warming up. Let's walk 3 steps to the front of our mat and rise for Tadasana. Hands out to heart center. And breathe. Now let's position that left leg at a 45-degree angle behind us with our right knee bent forward, parallel position straight to the mat, parallel to each side. Option to use your blocks. We might want to keep them by you. Otherwise, let's lift those hands up for warrior one. Be sure to look at your knees, that they're not over your toes. And then breathe. Taking that left arm behind you, grasp the back of your thigh, and let's take a reverse warrior one. Right arm pushing backwards to extension, allowing our chest to shine forward as well. Coming back to warrior one, let's take that right arm under our left and hinge forward for eagle arms, allowing our chest to come to our right knee, and breathe. Releasing our eagle arms, let's take each elbow, maybe reposition your stance, and come down to right shoulder, meaning right knee. Release the crown of your head to the floor for humble warrior. Releasing the arms, let's come back up to warrior one. Reaching our hands to the sky. Let's put our hands down to the mat and maybe straighten that right knee and push your hips back for pyramid pose. You should feel this in your quads. You should feel these in your hamstrings. Keeping that left foot at a 45-degree angle and pushing pushing backwards and then releasing your chest to your right knee. Let's bend that knee again and release back up to warrior one. And let's meet our right leg with our left leg back at the mat, hands to heart center. So again, we're going to take it to the other side. This time we're going to release our right foot back at a 45-degree angle. Left knee bends, pushing that right hip backwards. The only thing that needs to come forward is the front torso. And breathe. Releasing that right arm, we will take our left arm overhead for a reverse warrior one. Option to keep the head looking back or looking up at the ceiling, sending that heart forward. Let's come back to warrior one, and this time we're going to take the left arm under the right for our eagle arm. Hinging forward, glancing ahead. Notice the breath. Where do you feel it the most right now? Take note and breathe. Let's release these arms again and then take each elbow. Option to keep your hands on your hips and hinge forward. Releasing your crown to the head. You can also use a block and come forward. Otherwise, releasing your left shoulder to your left knee and breathe. Let's release the arms and come back up to warrior one. And step forward to Tadasana. Let's take another Vinyasa flow. Let's lift a forward fold down, releasing our hands, keeping our knees slightly bent. Let's halfway lift. Option to airplane the arms again. Otherwise, let's return to forward fold. Step back for plank, and maybe this time do a chaturanga, which is a half plank, releasing all the way down, knees, chest, chin, and this time lifting your body up for upward facing dog, sending that chest forward, slight rounding of the back. Option to keep your head down or lift up to the sky. And let's push back to downward facing dog again. Great. Let's walk forward. Let's do a few balancing poses before we move on. And let's vertebrae by vertebrae release back to the ground in our Tadasana. So next we're going to do a tree pose, and the option is to either take your ankle here, or you can move it up to your knee, and if it's in your practice, all the way up to your perineal. Hands could be at the heart center, you can release them above the head, or whatever feels right for your practice. So again, take the pose that feels good for you, and let's balance on that right leg, focusing on a drishti point. Let's release that left leg and let's take it to the other side. Again, you can option to keep it here at the ankle or at the knee. You'll notice that every side is different, every body is different. So do what feels right for your body. Great. Releasing your right foot to the mat. Let's go ahead and do a few bends, like hugging our knee, our right knee to our chest, allowing that added stretch in the glute muscles. Let's release and lift up our hands and sit down into chair pose. Option to use blocks, or you can keep your arms straight ahead and just sit in that pose, feeling the strength of your quads and your thighs. Let's return those hands to heart center and let's twist to the right. Option to look over that right shoulder or straight down. Again, if it feels better, you could use blocks and maybe twist as well with the added support. Otherwise, let's return back to neutral and breathe, standing back up. Let's lift our hands and release those hands to heart center. Now let's take it on the other side, lifting that left knee to your chest, maybe even flex the foot a little bit. Our feet just take on the whole presence of our body and just really hold us up. Releasing that knee, let's sit back into chair pose on this side. Releasing those hands to heart center, and let's twist gently to the left, to the sky. Again, option to look over. You can take your blocks and continue the twist. And breathe. Let's return to center and lift up to the sky. Let's send those hands back up and swan dive back to the mat for forward fold. We're going to take it a little bit quicker to our halfway lift, and remembering to breathe down, back down to forward fold with a slight bend in the knees. Maybe jump or step back to plank, whatever's in your practice. Let's take it down to chaturanga, lifting that body up to upward facing dog. And push back to downward facing dog. This time we're going to lift that right leg up to the sky, taking it as far as feels great for you, and send it forward between the hands at the front of the mat. Let's lift, keeping that left heel taken off the mat for crescent lunge. Let's lower that left knee. You can untuck the toes or tuck the toes, whatever feels great. And releasing those hands down to the mat. Repositioning your foot in Olympic medal style. Let's hinge forward for runner's lunge. And let's push back for half split. You should definitely feel that in your lower back. Extending that right foot back. Head face down. And let's do one more set of those with runner lunge, getting ready to get that gold medal. And back for half split. Releasing that right foot back. Option to keep the blocks nearby. Otherwise, with your hands by your right foot, let's untuck the toe and lift that left leg off the ground, positioning ourselves to move forward for a standard split. Again, you can take the blocks for support and take it at your own level and pace. Let's return that left leg to the floor to meet its right partner. And come up slowly. Whew. Are you feeling that energy? I know I am. Let's release back down to the earth and step back. This time, let's just step back to downward facing dog and allow that left leg to rise to the sky, positioning it so it can go in front of the two hands on the mat. Ground yourself, keeping that right heel off the mat. Let's float our hands up, allowing our chest to greet the sky. Let's lower that right knee, position our hands, untuck the toes to the mat. And again, we're going to take that runner's lunge. So maybe move your foot up a little bit like I have to. And hinge forward. Let's push back for that half split, almost sitting into our right hip. And lunge forward for runner's lunge. And one more time, let's take it back for that half split. Let's position our left foot, sturdy our hands, and allow our right foot to come off the mat, lifting up. Again, you can keep your blocks to move forward. And let's release that right leg to the sky for standing splits. Again, do what feels comfortable for you. You should definitely feel that stretch in that left quad thigh muscle. Let's release that right foot down and let's just grab our elbows, keeping our toes a few inches apart for ragdoll. Maybe figure eight it and twist around. Bob your head maybe back and forth. Oh, great. And now let's slowly rise, root to rise to the sky with hands by your side. This time we're going to go into our warrior two, which is our left foot will be planted back at maybe a 90-degree angle for our support here while we bend this right foot forward. Again, our hips are this way, don't want to turn this way. Releasing your right hand and your left arm behind parallel to each other, looking over your right fingertips to a drishti point ahead. Allowing the face to soften, the jaw. Now let's release that left arm over. Let's reverse this warrior again, and this time keeping your knee just slightly so you can still see your toes. Releasing that right arm overhead. Feeling that on your side, and just breathe into those lungs, allowing your heart to just really remove some of those blockages. Let's do a side angle, releasing that right arm to the right knee, bending into it, and now sending that left arm overhead. Let's circular the arm to be overhead. Let's slide down the right hand on the option to take a block, straightening out that right knee for triangle pose. Sending your heart forward. Your option to look up at the ceiling or down at your feet. You can also grab your ankle. Option to be on your fingertips, releasing that arm, extending on both sides. Let's bend back into the knee and release back to warrior two. Taking this right foot, let's curve it in, almost like a star pose, keeping your left foot also curved. Hands to hip, let's fold forward to wide angle side pose. Option to use a block. You can stretch out your legs even more. Come down to your block. Or keep your hands at your hip. If it's in your practice, you can even go all the way down to your forearms with the crown of your head relaxing here. Let's get back with keeping our heel toe, our feet together a little bit, and allowing our hands to hips to rise back up. This time we're going to take Warrior Two on the opposite side, allowing our left knee to hinge forward. Our right foot should be at that 90-degree angle. Releasing our hands straight out, again parallel, looking over that left hand with your drishti point for focus. Let's reverse that warrior, sending our right arm back to our right thigh, left arm overhead before we fly back over for side angle, switching directions of our hand extension. Again, option to keep the gaze looking up at the ceiling, or if it feels better, you can look straight down and breathe. Let's circle that arm up and allow our left arm to reach the mat straight up for our triangle pose, straightening that left leg. Again, option to take a block so you can really send that heart forward. Let's bend back into that knee and release back to our Warrior Two before we yet again come into our star pose. Keep your hands up like this too. With our hands on our hips, again, let's release forward. Maybe take our feet a little bit further out. Again, option to use the block if needed. Or you can also release your hands back, pulling the crown of your head closer to the earth for that added stretch. Great. Releasing our hands to the front of the mat. Let's heel toe our feet together. And root to rise for Tadasana. Stepping back to the front of our mat. Ooh. Let's lift to the sky. Maybe do a volcano pose with your 3 fingers and the index finger and thumbs crossed above our head. And breathe. Releasing the arms. Let's step back to downward facing dog. We're going to get ourselves together so that we could prepare for camel pose. So from downward facing dog, let's lower our knees to the floor for kneeling pose. You can either keep your feet tucked under or release them. But let's lift up for kneel pose. Hands by our sides, chest forward, face forward, eyes softened. Let's clasp the hands behind our backs and maybe come back a little so you have enough room on your mat. And you don't have to clasp your hands. If it feels better, you can keep on your side. But if it's in your practice and you want to explore this more, keeping your shoulders squeezed together, you want to lower the crown to the head, folding forward to the mat, raising those hands as far as you can take it. Don't force it, and breathe. Pulling those shoulders together, allowing your head to maybe even rock on the mat. And let's come back up slowly and release those hands. Let's put them actually at the back of our lower spine and maybe massage them a little bit before we try this camel pose. I have something sticking in my foot, my knee. So let's massage this back and maybe take the right arm and just lower it back slowly. Again, you can keep your feet tucked if that feels better. Lowering that right arm to the back of your ankle. Option to use a block and maybe put it behind your feet as well. If you notice, your heart center is already starting to come back up to shine at the sky. Okay, let's come back to our massage and maybe try the left side. Grabbing onto that ankle, releasing our face ahead, or if it feels better, you can put your chin to your chest, allowing your chest to broaden, remembering to breathe. Be aware of your breath. Okay, let's come back up and maybe release those toes, or again, if you like to keep them tucked, let's try a actual camel pose by releasing both hands to your ankle, to your heels, and send that chest forward. Again, option to use blocks, keep those behind you. You can also extend like that, sending that heart forward. Otherwise, keeping your hands on your ankles, moving forward to opening that chest, allowing a circle of love and light behind you, holding up your back. Let's slowly release, bringing our head forward, bringing our butt down to our thighs, and allowing us to come forward for another child pose. Releasing those hands forward. Let's counter that camel pose and stretch out that thoracic spine. And breathe. Okay, let's come up to hero pose, keeping both of our feet close together. Let's sit back on our... And let's maybe do a couple of a couple of ujjayi breaths, which is breathing in, and when you exhale, allow it to come out through the back of your throat, maybe like an ocean wave or a whisper, whatever sound, or even if you want to just a loud sigh, just release what no longer serves you. Let's do about 3 of those. Inhale and exhale. Great job. Maybe take one more child's pose before we get on our backs. Just stretch out that lower spine and mid-spine, sending our chest to the earth, crown of our heads to the mat, and breathe. Okay, let's get on our backs. We're going to try to cool down a little bit. We've been working on the energy flows and the heat in our body, allowing our heart to shine forward, removing blockages. And so let's kind of reconnect to ourselves, and let's lift the knees up to the chest, maybe give it a tight hug, and maybe rock back and forth. Massaging that spine. Yes. I love these. Okay, we're going to actually prepare for a bridge. So you might want to use a block, releasing your feet back to the earth, keeping your knees up. Option to put a block under your back And you can actually sit on it until you lift up with hands by your side, chin to chest. Keep your feet in position, maybe hip width apart. You want to send your hips up to the sky in a bridge. If you have the block there, keep it positioned so that way you're almost off of it slightly, but it's still there for the added support. Otherwise, option to also clasp your hands behind your back and lift. Inhale and exhale. And maybe on the next inhale, lift up a little bit more. And exhale down. And let's try that one more time. Inhale, lift up your hips off the mat, sending them forward to the sky, clasping your hands if you like, otherwise keeping them by your side. Inhale and maybe lift a little bit higher, and exhale, sending the navel to your spine, releasing it to the earth, and move the block. Yes. Now taking your right leg, let's do a pigeon, a four-way pigeon pose. Gosh, I can't get my words out. Releasing your right foot to your left knee. Option to actually pull this forward, pull your left knee forward, pushing your right knee away with the right elbow for that added stretch in your psoas muscles and your glutes. You can also just keep your knee like that for that added stretch. Let's release that right foot back to the earth and take it on the other side with left leg preparing for the pigeon and hands through the center, lifting that right leg off the floor, pushing that left knee away with your left elbow. For that just added stretch on the left side. Releasing your feet, both feet to the ground. Let's curl our hands out at like a T and maybe windshield wiper those knees right to left, left to right. Just a couple of times before we settle over on the right side. Looking over, gaze over to your left. Allowing the energy to flow through your body, breathing into that left side. Maybe even close the eyes. Now let's take it to the other side, dropping your knees over to the left. Notice the difference in your hips. Just take note, don't judge it, and glancing over your right arm. Let's keep our knees back up at the mat and maybe take a last pose before we do a couple of things before we get to Savasana, but maybe a happy baby pose. Option to keep your hands in the inside of your feet. Take your peace fingers, grabbing your big toe, and one more little massage and rocking on your spine. Happy baby poses make me very happy. Again, heart facing the sky, allowing that good energy flow of love to be received. All of the love you've given out to others being returned. Let's release those feet down straight to the mat. We're going to do one more pose before Savasana, which is banana pose. Taking your left wrist with your right hand overhead. Let me move these blocks. Let's stretch over to the right side. Taking your right leg and your left leg over. Use your left leg to almost push you away to kind of curve like a banana on your left. You should really feel it on your left side, just curving over. And let's switch left wrist grabbing the right wrist over to the left side. moving our feet over like a banana to this side, with this time the left leg pulling the right over. I may have reversed that, I'm not sure, but I think I'm just in love with these banana poses. Great added stretch to your right side before we settle into Savasana. And breathe. So let's release. And if you have a blanket, if you want to grab that now, we're going to take a few minutes for our Savasana, allowing our feet to flop down to the mat, releasing our hands, maybe palms face the sky, or you can return them to heart and your belly again, whatever feels great, but allow your whole body to relax and release, allowing your heart to shine forward. Maybe even repeat a mantra to help with any distractions or mental fluctuations. I am loved. I have compassion. I love, and say your name. I am loved. I have compassion. I love you, Gina. Maybe say those gently to yourself or not at all. Take a few moments to be still. Remembering to breathe. Maybe begin to flicker the eyes, fingers and toes, and come on to your favorite side. And just take your time before meeting me back up at the mat in a seated pose. Maybe close the eyes for a moment to remind yourself that you are loved, to give yourself the love you deserve. Thank you for trusting me with your practice. The love and light in me honors the love and light in you. Remember that you are loved and continue to pour that love into yourself as you have done for so many others. I wish you well. Namaste.